So hi and welcome to the first episode of Physiologia Plantarum's Communicating Science series. My name is Maria Lundmark.
And I'm Daria Hrobok, and hello to our first episode.
Yes, so today we're going to talk about the title and the abstract. So we're going to give you a few tips and tricks on why these are so important and what you can do to improve them.
Yes.
And I think that we could start right away with me sharing a screen, and we can see some of the slides that we have prepared. Let's hope that this works. And we should try and this was not so. Can you see this, Daria?
Yes, all is good now. Perfect.
Okay, so let's start with the title. Basically, that's the first thing that people will encounter. It's the things that when you search for articles, this is what you will find. And many like search engines and so on, they will just index the title, not even always the abstract. So it's important that the title is searchable and that it's interesting enough to draw in the readers, basically. So it's like you can almost say that it's like a screening process that is happening. So first you have the title, and if people find that interesting, they might read the abstract. And if that also gets people excited or interested enough, then they might actually read the full article. So you want people sort of to hit the bullseye, right?
Yes, you want to lure them in, catch them with the title, and then, like if you would go fishing and then you get them in, and then, you have the full article. It's like a mini version of what you actually have done in years of work, basically.
Yeah, and I guess this is sometimes a bit tricky.
Yes.
So how do you go about creating a title then that will entice people and lure them in? So I've read a few articles concerning this, because there is actually science also behind how to create a title. And it's interesting, I think, because there's a lot of things that they list that you should think about. And it's easy when you search online on like these to get lost, I think, because I got a bit overwhelmed, I have to say. And also, I think for me personally, when I was doing my PhD and during my postdoc, I don't think that I spend that much energy on these things. I don't think I thought about it this clearly. And in hindsight, it's a shame, because I think that I could have improved my titles and also my abstract. So if I've had these tips and tricks, I think I would have done a better job.
Yeah, for me, it's actually the same. It's never something that was... you get so stressed writing the article and doing this and that and doing the figures and this, so you don't really think about it, and then you just put a title and then quickly the abstract, and then that's it. The manuscript, the main body of work, is the thing that we focus on most. But as you said, it's a shame, because you might not catch certain readers that might be really interested in what you're doing.
Exactly. So I made this slide to sort of simplify things a little bit and get you to a place where to start, basically. So I think that you should ask yourself two questions. So what does your paper try to answer, and what does it accomplish? So these are the two main things that I think you should spend some time thinking about. And in doing so, I think that this should be one of the last things that you do. So when you have actually written your paper, you should sit down and see, so what did I answer, and what did my science or my research accomplish? And then try to answer this in a few sentences. And when doing so, I think also it's important to keep in mind who your audience is. Yeah. And basically, where are you going to publish this? Is it in a more general journal, or is it in a really focused journal? I mean, if you have done some research on, let's say, photosynthesis, and you publish in a paper that publish a lot of other things, maybe then you have to be a little bit more general in your title. But if you're publishing in a specific photosynthesis journal, maybe then you can be more specific, because then you're sort of have already framed your audience. And this also applies, I guess, when you're doing talks and other things. It's important to keep in mind who you're talking to or communicating with.
And you don't, for example, when you give talks, you don't necessarily, about your research, you don't have to use the same title that when you publish. So you can always adjust, because you might have a very different audience at a conference compared to an article that you publish. And also, it really depends on the field that you are in, not only plant biology, but if you are in developmental biology or working with Drosophila flies, it's all, there's all kinds of different, you know, how do you say, like, not consensuses, but in different ways of how people do and publish in a certain area of science. So this is also always something to keep in mind.
Yeah. And the other thing you have to think about when you do your, when you construct then your title, is that you should include the important scientific words and also keywords. And this is both because that will tell people what you have done. So if you have been working with a specific gene, you should probably mention that this is what you've been working on. If you're focusing on a certain problem or something, that should also be in focus. And you should also place these important keywords and scientific words in the beginning of the title. And because a lot of like search engines and so on, and a lot of like, what do you call them? Databases and so on, they just index the first part of a title or a couple of words, so not the whole title. So then it's important that these come first so people can see it and maybe click on it, and also for the searchability.
Yes. And then basically when you have all of this, like your questions and your answers and thought about the words and keywords, then you kind of mash all of this together and try to edit it into a single sentence, basically describing exactly what you do, really like the essence of all your work that you've done. Cut out all the words that are redundant, not necessarily really needed to understand what you do, and try to make it as, I don't know, crisp, clear as possible.
I think for a lot of people, I mean, the title is something completely different from when you're writing like other sentences. You can cut out a lot of things from a title. It doesn't have to be like this flowy kind of nice sentence that has like all of the structures of a regular sentence. So you cut out a lot of things. So for me, in the beginning, I thought it was a little bit weird, maybe. It takes a while to get used to, but it's important, because if you look at the next slide, so when you have done all of this, you should go back and look at the title that you have created and ask yourself, why does this? No. Here.
No.
So ask yourself these, did you keep it brief? So a title should preferably be no longer than 15 words. And some journals even have like restrictions. So they might tell you that it can't be longer than 12 words or something. So you should, before constructing a title, if you know where you're going to send your paper, you should really look for the instructions to the authors that the journal have. And all journals have instructions to the authors.
Yeah, you will also, by the way, make everybody in the editorial office happy when you stick to the guidelines of everything that the journal says. It will make the whole flow of how you're publishing your paper will go easier. So that's all.
It's always faster if people have complied to the guidelines. So the next thing to ask yourself is, did you entice? And this could be, for me at least, the difficult part, because you have to, how do you do this? You have to make it interesting. And this I find the most difficult, because it's not a technical thing. It's a little bit more
emotional, human.
Yeah.
You kind of try to catch a person.
Yeah.
Even if the person is a scientist, you in a way want to make them curious, to induce a feeling of curiosity. How do you do that scientifically speaking? You need to add some kind of feeling or emotion to it without being too irrational. It's not about this, but find a good balance somehow, a scientific balance.
Yeah.
Enticement is tricky. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's tricky. And it certainly isn't and has never been my strong point, I think. But it helps if you read titles and you look at other titles, and you might get a sense of what you like and why did you like it. What drew you in.
Yeah, that's actually
so I think that looking at other titles and seeing what you go for, basically.
Yes, I think this is actually a really good tip, to just to not only look for the science. Okay, I'm interested in this is what I look for, but try to see how they make you feel, what makes you open up and click on a title and the abstract and then the article, not necessarily the science, but go from this more feeling perspective to it, and then you will know. And this is why you should definitely tell the story about the humor, the third point, Maria.
Yes. So you should say no to abbreviation, jargon, and sadly, humor.
Why can't I be humorous in the title?
Because science will tell you that if you have a humorous title, people are less likely to cite your article. They have shown, and I can probably find citations for this and put it online later, but that if you have a humorous title, people will be drawn to it, and it actually might increase the people who will read your article, but they are less likely to cite it. And I don't know if this is because scientists want to be a little bit serious and a little bit uptight, maybe. I don't know, but that's a fact.
Yeah, but the thing is, you can use this fact and this knowledge, because they have done research on it. You can use it to your advantage and decide, okay, if I publish, I don't use humor, but if I want to post about my article on social media or I want to write a blog post, then you can twist your title and make it humorous. Or when it's a general audience piece, like for example our Spotlight series, sometimes the authors use a little bit of humor to it, because it's not necessarily they want to be cited a lot, they just want to be read a lot. So you can use this knowledge really well and play around with it, and take advantage of that.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, that a title for a social media post or something is something completely different, and you should keep in mind that they are two different things. So that was a really good point. And then the last thing to ask yourself, did you say yes to keywords? Do you have keywords and important words, and are they in the beginning? So if you have managed to do this, you should have a pretty good title.
Yes. Then you can go to the next, the abstract.
So if we then we actually looked at some of the most cited articles in our journal. And we took two examples of titles. So one is pretty straightforward, the first one. So it reads, reactive oxygen species and temperature stresses, a delicate balance between signaling and destruction. And I think this is a nice title. It tells you what it's all about. It's reactive oxygen species and temperature stress.
So these
And
words
then,
would be the ones that are represented in the beginning whenever you look for it. So you know
yeah.
already the topics, bam, done. Interested? Yes, no, then you continue.
And then it's like the delicate balance between signaling and destruction. I find that interesting. I want to know more.
Yes, I think for me specifically, the word delicate, that is enticing to me, because it's like, oh, that's the word that you don't usually use in a scientific setting, and it indicates something very subtle as well, and signaling is so. I like this title as well. I would have clicked on it.
I think I would have also, and I like the destruction part also. It's like,
yes,
destruction of what?
Yes. And I actually, honestly speaking, when it comes to titles, it's usually one lines. But what I like is when they use this, not semicolon, but this double point, I don't know, because that's kind of breaking the title up in two parts without kind of being really two parts. It's still one sentence and one line. And to me, that gives my brain a little bit of a break to process first part and then the second part.
I agree. So I like that as well. And then we have a completely different type of title. So this is longer and much more complex. So it says size exclusion limits and lateral heterogeneity of the stomatal foliar uptake pathway for aqueous solutes and water suspended nanoparticles. I can't even read it properly. So this is an example of a title that is very complex, and it's quite heavy on like difficult words.
Yes.
So, but science also, once again, tells us that sometimes having a very complex and not very straightforward title is also compelling to scientists, because apparently it gives a sort of, I don't know how exactly to explain it, but it gives it some credit, that the people know what they are talking about. It's a serious thing, and from what I read, it also makes people think that maybe these know more than me. That these are people who are on their game, basically. Exactly. They know what they're talking about. So I should read it, because I also want to know what they're talking about.
Yes, they are super competent and experts in their field and everything. So if you want to go for this, or if you want to target a really, really specific audience that they will read that and immediately know, then it's also totally okay. And we picked those two titles, and we thought, like, should we pick one really complex one, or should we come up with a complex one that we think is maybe not what we described to you before? But we picked those titles because they are among the most cited articles that we have in our journal. So that shows to you as well, it's not like this is bad and this is good. It's not about like this duality of like judging something, because it's anyways, it has been good because people have been citing it. They were interested in it, no matter how you put the title. You might think, okay, like, why should I think about it? And no, this is exactly because of all of these differences in how people perceive it. This is making it extra important to think about, how do you want to have your title?
And maybe also that you could have like different audience. Maybe this is focused on a more exclusive clique of people, scientists.
Yeah, maybe it was like a super special issue on something very specific, or a conference compilation of articles. Yeah. It makes sense then to have such a title.
Yeah. So I think then that covers the title part, and we should probably then move on to the abstract. So we recorded this first episode, and we were aiming to keep it quite short, but we failed.
Big time.
But when we watched it, we actually really liked the recording, and we thought that we went through things in a really nice manner and so on. So we decided to keep it.
Yes, we really didn't want to re-record it because we might have actually missed the points that we said spontaneously, and that would have been like stressful for us and would have just been a bummer.
Yeah. So instead, we're going to cut the first episode in two.
And this is basically our smooth outro that we thought that we will add to explain to you. And you will see the second part of the video when it's about abstracts and all the things that we share next time.
Exactly. So until then, bye-bye.
Bye. See you.
See you.